options is a legitimate trading tool. It's an exotic option, and there are banks that offer it, and there are various companies that offer it. But as it operates in Israel, it's largely fraudulent, and the way it works is an investor, someone is called on the telephone, and they're offered the opportunity to invest in what's called a binary option, and it's whether the value of an asset, say gold, or the price or a currency will go up or down. If they are correct, then they get about 70% of their money, and if they're wrong, then they lose the money they put on that bet. What's happening though is much of this industry, as it operates in Israel, is actually fraudulent. Not only will customers lose their money over time, but often the platforms that provide the binary options are rigged. So basically, I've been told something like 98 to 99% of customers lose most or all of their money, and that's in the majority of companies.
I mean, that sounds awful enough, but what's the absolute worst thing you've discovered in the course of your investigation?
Well, the absolute worst thing, when I first started investigating, I thought, okay, there are people being scammed out of $250, $1,000, but I've spoken to people, and it's not a few people, who've lost their life savings. Elderly people who have nothing to live on, who don't have money to heat their homes. I spoke to a woman who wanted to commit suicide. I've heard of people who have committed suicide. So there seems to be no limit on how much money some of these companies are willing to take from a person.
I mean, why here in Israel? How did we get to a situation where the government let an unregulated business spin so clearly out of control?
Well, that's a very good question. That's a very good question. I ask myself that question all the time. I think there's just a lack of law enforcement. It started about 7 or 8 years ago is when binary options started. Forex started a little bit before that. And I would say this is the underbelly of the high-tech nation, of the startup nation. So we have this high-tech expertise here in Israel. I think there's also the money laundering aspect, where it's a little bit easier to launder money here perhaps than in other places. And
I mean, has the government been ignorant of this? Has it been turning a blind eye? Corrupt interests? I mean, the government can't have been completely unaware that this was going on.
So I ask myself that question often, because the government hasn't been ignorant of this at all. For instance, last year, a man by the name of Aviv Talmor, who owned several Forex and binary options brands, was arrested. And he was arrested, and you would have expected that once his case was investigated, the whole thing would unravel, because there wasn't just one Aviv Talmor, there are hundreds of Aviv Talmors. And yet it just remained at that. There was one man who had done this crime, and the rest of the industry continued on as usual. So I don't know, and maybe there's corruption involved, maybe there's just a kind of, it's a very complicated crime to crack.
Is it a question of, what we call in Israel kastach, that every agency says someone else is responsible, and it just falls between the cracks?
There's an aspect of that. So I don't know. I wouldn't jump to conclusions that there's corruption involved, but there's some sort of failure of law enforcement.
Briefly, what is the Times of Israel hoping to achieve with this investigation, so we can wrap up and move on?
So we can wrap up and move on. I mean, this is a really big story, and there are aspects of it that have yet to be unraveled. What we hope to achieve, we want to alert the public to what's going on, and there remains more to be exposed. And we hope that law enforcement will do something about it, although our job is just to let the public become aware.
Simona, thank you very much.
You're welcome.